I'll give Jews one thing. They are one of, if not the best group at advocating for and defending themselves. But also, that simultaneously makes them horrible at it. It's a funny concept where attempts to combat anti-Semitism feeds into Jewish stereotypes and often leads to more anti-Semitism, which I think makes Jewish people fight back harder, which feeds into the anti-Semitism more. Like, bro, it's crazy. I think it was my man Adolf who said something like, "They cry in pain as they strike you." And that was a genius thing to say, because as a Jew, anytime you retaliate or call out something as anti-Semitic, they can accuse you of doing that thing. And what that does is, I think it makes Jewish people even more sensitive. And if they overreact even a little, it leads to even more anti-Semitism. Like, bro, it's so funny. So recently, Twitch has been embroiled in controversy, and it's come from a couple of different angles. Firstly, H3H3 accused them of propping up creators who were spreading blatant anti-Semitism.
Just a casual panel provided by Twitch at their con, broadcasted on their official channel. What is it? Well, it's a panel hosted by Frogan and 4 of her friends, in which they have a tier list where they rate people where good is Arab and bottom is loves Sabra. Sabra is a very popular hummus brand. I know in Israel, it's pretty much in everybody's refrigerator, and it's kosher. They're an American company, but they've been the subject of the pro-Palestine boycott. I mean, it's kind of just Arab good, Jew bad.
The next person is one of my favorite people, Ethan Klein.
I told you guys to clap.
This is a good reaction.
That was a good one.
That's Jewish.
Dude, where's the, you guys are missing a category for Zionist. That was a joke. That was just a joke in my...
Stand up.
We're very proud of you, Denims, for bringing anti-Semitism right on stage, and you guys are killing it. And may I point out here, Chevron, Capcom, I've been suspecting that Twitch has an anti-Semitism problem.
Okay, this is pretty bad. He's right, this is really bad. Having a tier list essentially going from Arab equals good to bad equals something closely associated with Israel or Jewishness, yeah, that's dodgy. At first I was like, whatever, but especially putting Ethan there, really dodgy. Because he's not like some crazy anti-Palestinian dude or like some expansionary genocidal maniac or anything. Like, he's milk toast. The fact he's a Jewish person doesn't help. And then saying you wish there was another tier even lower called Zionist, oh yeah, I don't know, man. Especially if you're like a staunch lefty, you should understand this. Like, these people, like, I bet they all complained about the fabled alt-right pipeline, and they all understood about dog whistling and all that stuff. But I also feel like this is a bit of an overreaction on Ethan's part. I think especially going after the sponsors and being like, oh, look at these guys, you know, report them type of thing. I generally just don't like that. But also, I'm gonna sound crazy here, it feels a little Jewy. Okay. Now, wait, not to me, okay? I'm not saying it feels like that to me. I'm saying, like, you know, those Jewish or like Israeli stereotypes that they control things or they try to silence people. I just feel like, you know, showing these sponsors and then being like, oh, Twitch has a big anti-Semitism problem. And some people, I think, will just see this as another example of that. And in fact, a lot of normies are feeling that. Rightly or wrongly, a lot of people feel like you can't criticize the country's actions. I mean, listen to this famous soccer presenter. He's a pretty, like, vocal, normie, center-left, liberal type of dude. And just listen to what he has to say.
But the minute you raise your voice against what they're now doing there, you know, you get accused of being a supporter of Hamas or, you know, all this kind of stuff. So there is, you know, there's a lot of heavy lobbying on people to be quiet. So I understand why most people refrain, but I'm getting on a bit now. I'm fairly secure, and I can't be silent about what's happening there. Now they're talking about, you know, it already looks like it's happening going into Rafah, where they've sent everybody down there. So, you know, I don't think you can be, you know, it's not anti-Semitic to say that what Israel is doing is wrong.
I mean, that feeling does come from somewhere. And ostensibly, I mean, Ethan here got these people banned, right? By making a fuss about it. Now, if I already had like a certain prejudice, I could easily say, wow, look at how much control and power this sneaky guy has. This massive media figure with just a little bit of whining got all these anti-Israeli voices banned for not even saying anything like that explicitly crazy. Do you see kind of where I'm going with this? Like, if you're already like a little bit geared against that camp, this is like a very self-reinforcing thing. So what's the solution? Should he never call out this type of thing? No, I think Ethan was completely right to call this out. But for example, the sponsors thing or going straight to the A word, I think maybe you should hold back on that a little bit. Like, I doubt any of these people themselves are like anti-Semitic or Twitch itself. Like, I doubt that they hate Jews for being Jews, you know? And the reason I give them that benefit of the doubt is because a lot of the stuff can get quite muddy and hard to entangle. It's hard to separate the concepts of Zionism Zionism, Israel as a nation state, and Jewishness as an identity and an ethnicity. Oh, and not to mention the religious element. There's a lot of blurriness, a lot of equivocation goes on both sides when talking about this stuff. Some people pretend that they're just being anti-Zionist when really they're anti-Semitic. But on the other side, sometimes people try and purposely conflate the two concepts so they can point to anything that's anti-Israel and say that's anti-Semitic. Alright, here's my stance on it. If anti-Zionism is purely like, hey, how this country was established is kind of BS, and the very concept of a particular ethnic group feeling they have a right to or having the ambition to inhabit a particular piece of land when it goes against the will of the people already there is cringe. If that is anti-Zionism, I think that's fine. Basically, if you just principally aren't fully on board with this concept as an ideology, I don't think that makes you anti-Semitic. In the sense that I think there are some reasonable arguments you can have there, and I don't think it necessarily makes you a bigot. But that really depends on what your practical application of that principle is. Like, for example, I think it's completely possible for someone to be anti-Zionist and still believe that modern Israelis deserve to keep living in Israel as full citizens. That is their country, they have the right to defend themselves. You can believe that and still not like how the country was established. And you can oppose like the strong ethnic nationalist or expansionary element of it, wherever or if that exists. But if anti-Zionism encompasses stuff like Jews do not belong in Israel, they should give in to Hamas's demands, October 7th was valid resistance actually? I think that's insane. And to me, there is a pretty clear difference between them. But out there in the wild, the problem is one side of this does sort of seem to melt into the other, almost seamlessly. And doing stuff like this, and I get that most of these guys are probably doing it more so from like a very pro-Palestinian emancipation mindset or whatever. But when you have like green equals Arab, man, it can seem like basically fuck Israelis, which can feel like also fuck Jews. So for example, like I've recently started following a lot of soccer influencers on YouTube and Twitter. Most of the big young creators in that space are brown people.
It's you. Tell him he deserves it. Takbir.
And they tend to lean very pro-Palestinian, as you'd expect. And most of them seem relatively milquetoast about it. But when I see some of their followers, or just the general like wider football online community, specifically like on Twitter and shit, like I saw some celebrating like random Israelis dying, or they call Jews like Yahuds, and just like say really sus things. Like the online arena in general, I think can be like a dodgy, not inviting place for Jewish people. So with that in mind, I think these streamers should be way more understanding of their fears. It's like you need to walk this tightrope a bit better than this. And then there was a second angle of attack on Twitch, which came from Destiny's friend Dan, who I think is the one who blew this whole thing open, where essentially Israel was banned on the platform. Like people in the country couldn't make new accounts.
If you attempted to create a new Twitch account after this ban went into place, you would get a cryptic message. It would not say, sorry, you're banned because you're in Israel. It would say, sorry, an error has occurred. Now, if you open developer mode in your browser and you went through the console and you're kind of a computer hacker, so to speak, you would be able to find out the actual error says banned country.
If this is all true, it's pretty messed up, pretty bad, especially the lack of transparency. I would say with all the evidence, and there's more in this video, I would say that Twitch probably does have some dodgy people in there. But I go back a little bit to that conflation stuff that I don't like. Like Dan kept emphasizing like, oh, this is where this percentage of Jewish people live.
So basically it was a de facto complete ban of half the world's Jews.
And it's like, oh, man, on the one hand, I get why people do that, but also I don't really like it.
I challenge you to find a word that you can replace with Zionist, with something else. When you say Zionists are subhuman scum pig dogs, tell me another thing that you can replace Zionist with, okay? And still be able to have your Twitch account in good standing. I thought about it for a while. The best answer I could come up with is Eskimos, but I think that might get you kicked.
Yeah, because Zionist is not supposed to be an ethnicity, it's supposed to be an ideology or whatever, right? So I'm pretty sure if you replace it with Republicans, Democrats, cops, anything that's not a protected class, essentially, I'm pretty sure you can use it. Now, he's making the point that Zionist is used as a stand-in for Jews. And sometimes, yes, but for most, like, lefty, brain-rotten people, I don't think it is. Now, you could say, well, most Jews are Zionists, and sure, maybe. So the effect of it somewhere down the line might be anti-Semitic, but I don't know. I fundamentally just don't like this mixing and matching of stuff. I think this all becomes very semantic. I think it becomes all very muddy. And I also don't like how many people in that sphere have started calling Hasan anti-Semitic. Like, principally, I don't like it because I don't think he is. Like, I think he's an idiot. I think he's a bad person. I think he supports bad people. I think he makes the internet in general a slightly worse place for Jews. But I don't think he hates Jewish people. Like, recently he tweeted this in response to a thread basically calling Hasan anti-Semitic. And just look at the clips he used for evidence.
The way that the Israeli occupying force and the Israeli government has conducted itself in the West Bank is something that even Americans can understand as unconscionable, because it is literally the Jewish KKK brigades out there, just a bunch of fucking inbred hicks literally doing pogroms to the Arab population and kicking them out deliberately from their... Okay? Like, imagine the most inbred white supremacist guy you can imagine, okay? Like the most illiterate, inbred, religious fundamentalist, white supremacist guy you've ever thought of. Like, think about it. Close your eyes and think about that guy, okay? Eyes looking in different directions, okay? Now, instead of that guy being Christian, imagine if that guy was Jewish and was currently actively doing the beginning, like in a couple months in after October 7th, every week there was another fucking psychopathic settler, inbred fucking douchebag wearing fucking military fatigues, shooting another Israeli dude because he thought, oh, I thought he was a terrorist. I thought he was terrorist.
Like, okay, so he used inbred a lot, but I don't think he was using that term because of the stereotype that some Jewish people, or like Orthodox Jews, are inbred. I don't think that was in his mind. Maybe it was, but from the context, it seems like he's using it more in terms of how generally like hicks who are like bigoted and live in rural areas are called inbred casually. Like the same thing is done in America, right? Rednecks or whatever. Now, is that rude? Is that maybe bad and he shouldn't really do it this much? Yeah, maybe. But is he being anti-Semitic? I don't think so. And the accent? Yeah, maybe. Like if someone did something like, come to India, bros. Thank you, come again. Yeah, I kind of hear it, maybe. But even this is a bit of a stretch for me. Like, okay, you know what? As I'm saying all this, there's recently been an incident in Amsterdam where an Israeli soccer club played a match, and allegedly their fans were chanting some not so good stuff, like death to Arabs or something. Now, seemingly a result of that is that some of these fans were rounded up, beat up on the streets, forced to say free Palestine and stuff. And look, I initially saw this in these like soccer Twitter communities, and the reaction to it, like essentially praising all of this, was disgusting. But then I saw this.
Dutch Moroccans are making them aware that this isn't...
It's for the children! For the children!
What the fuck? What is happening?
Hold on, Hasan. I'm not sure you want to cover this. It might show Jews getting attacked. Yeah, look for the one thing in your chat that isn't fucking disgusting. I despise these fucking genocidal Zionists. Soy Israel. Unbelievable. Fuck these people. Insane. Hold on, can we find one thing that maybe you can repeat, Hasan, in your fucking based chat? Like, literally, it's like the worst racism that there is. I challenge you to find something that's fucking bad. Like, one person, do not do violence chat, and the rest of them are like, shut the fuck up, I'm so happy, haha, get fucked. Can we, like, this is unexcusable, this fucking chat that you're looking at right here. It is not excusable. There is no excuse to this. This is his community.
And you know what? I take everything back. I agree with him. Like at some stage, if this is your community, then you're just like knowingly being anti-Semitic. And look, maybe there's way more to the story. Maybe the context somehow absolves this violence. But these chatters certainly didn't know that. I mean, details of the story is still coming out, so they couldn't have known it. And they're essentially just looking at Israelis getting beaten up and they'd be like, yeah, based. Get those Zionist pigs. And all these people are using Zionist as essentially a fill-in for Israeli. I mean, that is straight up just bigoted. Okay, let me reel it back. I still don't think Hasan is personally like anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish. And he does push back against his chat a little bit, but man, he could do it a lot more. Especially when he's so quick, so ready to call out any inkling of Islamophobia. Okay, you know what? Now that Ethan is cooking Hasan, I wasn't aware the extent to which he has gone crazy.
Hasan can go out there and glaze an international terrorist organization and glaze up Hasan Nasrallah like he's a fucking great dude.
Hasan Nasrallah was assassinated.
Do we like them or no?
I think as a resistance group, they're pretty successful against Israel. They are a terrorist organization. Like they're designated. They are designated by the American state as a terrorist organization.
I do not like them then.
Well, like
I like what you like.
I don't have an issue with them, let's just say.
Anyway, Ethan just essentially gives a crash course on everything bad about these people, and he keeps replaying that Hasan soundbite.
Indicted for the assassination of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri.
I don't have an issue with them.
Hezbollah participated in the Syrian civil war on the side of Assad. They're responsible for the genocide of well over 500,000 Syrians. Surrender or starve, strategy displacing thousands, amounts to crimes against humanity. Does that sound familiar?
I don't have an issue with them.
Nasrallah said in a speech delivered in Beirut, "What do the Jews want? They want security and money. Throughout history, the Jews have been Allah's most cowardly and avaricious creatures. If you look all over the world, you will find no one more miserly and greedily than they are."
I don't have an issue with them.
If we search the entire world for a person more cowardly, despicable, weak, and feeble in psyche, mind, and ideology and religion, we would not find anyone like the Jew. Notice, I do not say the Israeli.
I don't have an issue with them.
Yo, big up Ethan, because if nothing else, just spamming one clip like that is just an old school YouTube classic tactic. I love it. Okay, in conclusion, actually, I don't even know. This was such a ramble nonsense video. I went into this maybe with like a pretty harsh mindset. I was going to be maybe even a little bit victim blamey to some extent when it comes to Jews, just because of that conflation between like Israel and Zionism and anti-Semitism, which I think is still a thing that causes confusion. And also, I think there is sometimes a similarity between Jews and Muslims, actually, in that it can be hard to tell in both cases for both groups when other people are attacking them, if they're being genuinely bigoted or if they're just attacking ideology. A lot of that stuff can blend into each other quite easily. And that leads both these groups to have like understandable fears and concerns, but also they're both kind of insecure and can overreach a little bit when accusing other people of being Islamophobic or anti-Semitic or whatever. I think right now online sentiment towards Jews is like crazy bad. I wish that people in Destiny Sphere didn't hand wave away what Asmongold did as well. Like, listen to this.
Yeah. So by definition, you must be able to say some cultures are better or worse than other cultures, right?
Yeah.
So so Asmon's statement, I think, probably leans a little bit too far off in one direction, but all of the people attacking him are coming from the more retarded direction than Asmongold, which is to say, oh, actually nothing about Western culture is better than anything about Middle Eastern culture, blah, blah, blah. Like, type from my iPhone 15 XS or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah, so the thing is, Asmongold wasn't just critiquing culture, though. I agree, it's fine to do that. He said they're inferior in every way culturally, that he has no empathy for them, and that he doesn't care if they're genocided. Like, in terms of how explicit that was, it might be the worst thing said by anyone in this whole furore. Like, you don't need to defend this. It was unequivocally insane, and he deserved criticism for it. I don't know. Anyway, overall, I'd be curious. Any Jewish people out there? Am I like way off the mark here? Am I being a dick, or is there some truth to what I'm saying? It's just something I've been mulling over. Basically, I understand that there's a lot of like animosity towards Jewish people right now, but also I think there's a bit of overreach in trying to combat it at times, like going after sponsors or being like quick to call someone like Hasan anti-Semitic. I don't really like that, which ultimately hurts the cause, maybe more than people think, because I think it feeds into stereotypes and stuff. Yeah. All right, that's it. See ya.